Greetings, one and all, to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. A YouTube channel content creator actively alienating everyone, in both the analog and digital world. Well, welcome and good evening, you wonderful dice of all alignments. I am Lunar D8. What? What do you mean, separate rooms? So wait, you and George Nissan stayed in different rooms on purpose? Yes. Is it really so strange? Jessica's cheeks had been stuffed with the chocolate-coated Chinsuko biscuit. I have no idea what that is. And Shannon had brought as a present from Okinawa, and it all came flying out of Shannon when Jessica cried out. So Shannon, why did you even go on a trip to Okinawa? You were even alone with George Nissan. Well, he said there was a huge aquarium in Okinawa and invited me to go, and I like fish and stuff. No, that's not the point. We're talking about a healthy guy and a girl going on an overnight trip, right? And you're saying there weren't even any hugs and kisses? And seriously, what's up with the guy and girl staying in different rooms? As for kisses, no comment. But we did hug. George-san's chest was warm. That's not the point. Jeez. Why do couples like this exist? Jeez. I can't take it anymore. From Shannon's point of view, it was an incredibly happy trip for various reasons, but it looked like Jessica found their pace to be pretty irritating. For a while, Jessica chewed her present, complaining about romance and pretending to faint in agony on her bed. Shannon and George had chosen to go to Okinawa because there was a huge aquarium there. They did this because an aquarium had given them the opportunity to start going out. Since their relationship had started at an aquarium, having their first overnight trip also to be to an aquarium must have held some commemorative value. That's like a huge commemorative turning point on your first overnight trip. How could you not make all kinds of progress there? But instead, you both got separate rooms, a couple taking 2 single rooms. Jeez. Seriously, what's wrong with you? But we are both unmarried. George-san says showing restraint is good manners for a couple. Like I said, the whole point of this overnight trip was so that you could overcome that stage, right? You should be way beyond just kissing and hugging by now. My lady, I don't know what you mean by that, but George-sama was a real gentleman with me until the end. I also wondered if those things would happen, but even if we are going out, I mean, it's not like we're married or anything. These things you seem to be expecting should only be done after making a vow before God, and ow. Shannon's face got bright red. She made a circle with both hands, restlessly intertwining, separating and making heart marks with them. Apparently the dramatic progress Jessica had looked forward to hadn't happened, but it seemed to have been a very important experience for Shannon in her own way. In the end, whether Jessica was jealous of Shannon or made fun of her, it didn't change the fact that Shannon had a huge lead on her. I want a boyfriend too. I can't believe you got ahead of me. Even though we promised that we'd find boyfriends at the same time, you beat me. Arg. You're a wonderful person, milady, so I'm sure you'll find someone wonderful much quicker than me. Don't try to console me. Shannon, you traitor. Get out. Shut up. Cough, 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 dying noises. Jessica threw several cushions at her, but midway she had an asthma attack and started to choke pretty badly. Shannon hurriedly ran over to a nearby side table and started searching around on top of it. A cute basket was placed there, and inside of it was Jessica's bronchodilator. Shannon picked it up and handed it over to Jessica. Jessica's asthma attacks always came suddenly. Because of that, she always needed to carry this medicine around. She breathed in the medicine and, after a while, managed to overcome her choking as her asthma finally settled down. Shannon thought this a good chance to leave and tried to exit the room after bowing courteously. I used to have asthma, but I think for the most part I grew out of it. I mean, there's still some times that I'll cough a bit and it's kind of hard to breathe, but I don't know. I think that's just part of being an adult. As she did, one more small cushion came flying and hit Shannon on the head. She noticed that Jessica was on the verge of crying, half her face buried in her last and favorite cushion. That face was red and meek. "My lady? Shannon, be honest with me. Is my... what? Hairdo and stuff weird?" "No, I think it looks great. But your mom probably is probably putting a lot of pressure on you since, you guys are rich people and stuff. And I don't know. Then again, I think that's true of all families regardless how much money they have. Heck. I was thinking about just how fucked up and abusive the situation with Shannon and her employers is. Okay, here are some prospective titles for the video. 1. Poor people are subhuman, Shannon, and fat people don't have souls, but both go to hell. 2. You burnt lasagna, Shannon. You know what that means. And then I could probably make an AI image of Shannon holding a burnt lasagna and a black eye. Number 3. Don't make me angry, Sayo. You wouldn't like me when I am sawing off your limbs. I couldn't think of an odd little quip about having her chained up in the basement or the boiler room. The next one. Shannon, if you don't make Cannon stop barking, I will bash that dog's head in with a brick. See the next one. I will beat the British out of you. I don't even know. For some reason, I feel like I'd want to make an AI image of Shannon as Hatsune Mikune. I don't know how that fits in, though. Okay, next. Keep crying and I'll give you something to cry about. Or, keep whining and I'll break another rib. Or, spill the tea again and you'll get the metal part of the belt next time. Point being, if a woman in her 40s who is rich and has a servant who is probably 17 at this point, but 18 by the point where Battler shows up, or 18 already and 19 by that point. Main point, some woman in her 40s and a person barely in their getting close to their 20s. Just saying this. If a rich woman is beating her servant girl, and they're both women, and they both have vaginas, and it's 1986 Japan, in an island in the backwoods, and you're like, "Whoa, how can it be backwoods? It's an island." Well, it's my way of saying that it's the country. It's not it's you have the very dense urban cities, you have the suburban, and then you have hey, it's a 20-minute drive to the nearest hospital, so don't get hurt or else you'll probably bleed out before you get there. Main point is this. It's not exactly a very heavily populated area. I'm pretty sure if someone were to show up at this mansion and start randomly killing everyone, it'd be a while before anyone came across the bodies. So, just saying. The best way to describe if something's really the backwoods or not would be if aliens could fucking land there and it wouldn't be world news, it's backwoods. All of us, say if aliens were to land at the White House or in the middle of New York City, the whole world would know. But it would just in some random part of Oklahoma or a mountain area of China. I don't think anybody would notice except the one dude living in a hill. Here's the thing, especially since she comes from an orphanage that's run by Kinzo. I mean, technically, supernatural shit aside, if Natsui were to just decide to murder Shannon, would anybody even know, let alone try to prosecute her? And again, I understand each of the characters has their own issue, but I kind of feel like the main question I'm going with is this. Like, does the situation between Natsue, or Natsui, like however you pronounce it, and Shannon, does that, like if you have a rich woman beating her rich servant, beating her servant girl, does that count as domestic violence? Or is domestic violence just a family thing? Because, technically it's still a household thing, and technically that's what domestic is, it's household stuff. It's just, well, from the perspective of someone like myself who, is never rich or never will be, it's a very weird concept to, have a lot of people in, a household together. Or is there another word for what I'm trying to describe? What I'm trying to describe being the fact that I have either spent a lot of my time in isolation or, take back when I lived with my parents. I usually would either be at work or out for a walk, or I'd just be in my room listening to stuff with earbuds. I'd be playing video games, but I'd have earbuds plugged into the back of my television. So you could, if you were to come by the house when I was a child, you wouldn't even hear me. I would be making no noise. So I'm just saying it's kind of an odd concept, the idea of a large place with lots of people. Particularly the idea of having people that work for you. I don't know, actually, could I just ask Google? Though I imagine, whoever in the FBI keeps an eye on me would have to be why are you looking this up? And I'm do you not watch my YouTube videos? And to be fair, probably not, because, if the guy in the FBI, or woman for that matter, were to be watching my YouTube videos, then they would at least have a single like. So, man, I've never made a cent off this, and I never plan to. Heck, even if I had 1 million subscribers and YouTube wanted to monetize me, no, I'm against it. I will never make a cent from this channel. I will never have sponsors or brand deals or super chats and stuff. I'm just some random otaku who's annoying everyone on the internet. And I'm gonna talk about random things. One, does domestic violence include servants? If someone works for you. Technically they're kind of almost adopted orphanage people. Obviously that's not the correct terminology, but I don't know the correct... I assume there is a correct term for this. The idea of that you have live-in servants that... But I feel there's almost it's... they're part of your family in a way, right? Then again, does domestic violence include people that are just extended relatives? What if you're adopted? What about pets? Does domestic violence count on that? What's the definition of that? How does that work? What are the legal... and even then, it's does domestic violence include animals? And even then, does it just include physical violence? Or the verbal stuff at that point, or if you were keeping your dog stuck in one part of the room and made it sit in one spot and you would shock its collar every time it tries to move, does that count? Does that count as abuse? Does that count as violence? Does that count as domestic violence because it's a dog? Does that count as animal abuse? What if you yell at it? Now, obviously, there would be certain lines being crossed as far as, you weren't actually bashing his dog's brain with a brick. That being said, there were a lot of times. I mean, I guess some people are just kind of cranky. But like my stepdad, every time, like he never once played with the dog. He would ignore it. Unless like, granted, this is back when I lived with my parents. But like he would get really angry. He never once called the dog by its name. He never called her by her name. I mean, he would just yell, "Move mutt, move dog." And keep in mind, at that point, he'd already been sober and a deacon for like a decade. But it's like, I mean, it's one thing that you're willing to yell that to the dog at all. Like here's the thing. One, does it count as a thing if you yell at a dog that if it doesn't stop barking, you're going to bash its head in with a brick? Like, obviously, you're not actually doing it, but, you know, you are yelling at the dog and you are saying very mean things. And even though the dog doesn't speak English, you know, because it's a dog, I feel like, what are the... I don't know. And then the fact that you're yelling it to where, like, you know, I can hear you yelling this. You know, everyone in the house can hear this. I don't know. Does it count as inappropriate to yell those things at a dog in front of other people? Like, obviously it's wrong to the dog. Is it wrong to the other people? Like, is that wrong to me in that situation? Or am I being angry about nothing? And I know a lot of people say, that was years and years and years ago, Lunar. Yes, I know. Still annoys me, though. That and other things. I don't know. It's kind of odd. My mom isn't playing any video games herself just because she's not allowed to hook up any game consoles to anything. Yay for family. I forget what the fuck I was talking about. I think I was talking about how I talk about random bullshit. And I keep, like, heck, someone actually complimented one of my videos earlier, and I was like, thank you! But it's like, I can't really, like, they were saying they really enjoyed a certain story that I was reading, which I'm reading a story right now, albeit I'm staring at a Google screen, having not typed anything yet, because I'm just, but, it's just, I can't seem to focus. Heck, look at the way my playlists are set up. I can think of 1,000 things I can bitch about. Many of which are from the past. Like I said, just... like, The Binding of Isaac didn't exist as a video game back when I was a small child. But, like... my mom and stepdad did not quit drinking till I was, like, 11 and a half. There were so many times from the time I was, like... at least probably a dozen times each year. From the time I was like 7 till like then, where it's like my default reaction was, oh, my parents are yelling and screaming and cussing and drunk. I'm going to just hide in a ball inside my toy chest. It's a good thing it didn't have a latch, otherwise I probably would have suffocated like Isaac. But then again, on the other hand, if I was suffocating, I would have been having some sort of weird, you know, daydream / death vision. Though I feel like Ed McMillan would like be upset at me for like copyright issues or something at that point. I don't know. And obviously I shouldn't bitch about stuff from way back in the past, but it's just... Aside from that, though, I will say this. My mom, albeit few issues, is a good person. I love my mom. I wouldn't trade my mom for any other mom in the whole world. And, like heck, I remember I was like 12 years old, we got in a car accident, she leaned over me. Yeah, that saved my life. Granted, I've been like in quite a few car accidents over the course of my life. But, yeah, she wound up... That definitely saved me there, but of course she wound up getting like part of her forehead cut open so I could like see her skull. And that was... I would say uncomfortable, but she was the one who actually, had her head cut open a little bit. And heck, very slightly over 2 years ago, I had a bladder surgery, and she spent 3 days and 3 nights over here to help out and just watch over me, and she was very much needed, and I did enjoy spending some time with her, even though it was not under the best of circumstances. I mean, when it's all said and done, I love my mom very, very, very much. My stepdad, who I consider my dad, he's at least a much better father than my biological dad ever was, but I have lots of mixed feelings on that, mainly negative feelings, but I don't wish any harm on him or anything. Just, I guess the big thing about that is this. I believe in God, I believe in Jesus. But him and a lot of other people, like, deacons and pastors, I see the way they live their lives, the way they lived their lives before they were in the church, and even the way they live after, and the way they talk to people, and lots of things they've said and done that I just feel, why should I listen to your views on religion or morality or anything when, I know what kind of person you are and the things you've said and done, and just the way you've treated me and the way you've talked to me and the things you've said to me. Like, why should I respect anything you have to say about that stuff? Now, that being said, I know like a month and a half or so ago, my mom was mentioning, and I don't know why she brought that up, but it's like, she was like, whenever he dies, granted he is old, and she's old too, honestly. It's actually a bit depressing. I don't want my mom to die. I love my mom very much. Whenever she dies, I'm going to miss her very, very much, and I'm going to feel very emotionally devastated. Because my mom has been there for me on a lot of things, and she's the person I love and trust the most in this world. And all in all, she was a good mom. There were some questionable things about, just things that have been said here and there, but for the most part, she's at least loved me to the best of her ability, and I care about her, and she's precious to me. And I love her very, very much. And I enjoy going over to see her, and when I spend time with her or play some Battleship or something with her. Heck, just a few days ago I got her some more Christmas presents for when Christmas shows up, though granted the only 2 people I buy Christmas presents for is my mother and my son. Then again, I have 2 years of fucking Christmas presents and birthday presents sitting around for my son that I can't give to him. One day I will. Heck. Granted, he was coming over on the weekends for the first year and a half. And then the whole COVID pandemic stuff happened. But for the first 5 years after the divorce, I spent a couple hours a day in his bedroom talking to his stuffed animals. Then after about a year and a half of him coming over on the weekends, about a couple months before the COVID pandemic, he stopped spending the night, but he was still coming over during the day. People he was living with were rationalized, saying, oh, we want him to be able to get up in time for church and stuff, but it was like, that doesn't mean you should take more time of my son away from me. And then there was a lockdown pandemic thing, where I went about a year and a half without seeing my son in person. After the first year of that, I actually started this channel as an emotional outlet because, well, I mean, I've always talked to myself, but I guess I had to annoy other people. And then a few years after that, I was at least seeing him maybe 6 or 8 times a year, stop by, giving him presents for Christmas and stuff, and then about 2 years ago, things became less so. Heck, last time I spoke to him at all was about a year ago. It's like a phone face chat thing. I haven't been able to give him a hug or see him in person for about 2 years. I mean, I don't express any emotions in public. I'm very reserved and, well, very personal with my feelings. But like, I'll be at a Walmart or something and I'll hear a baby crying, or I'll hear a little kid. He'll be like saying, "Daddy, Daddy," or "Dad," and like they'll be talking like what type of macaroni or milk or something. And I'll just keep standing there looking at the, what flavor of Spam I want to get out of the aisle to cook in the skillet later that day, and I'm just listening to the parent and the child, and I feel like I want to drop to my knees and just start crying in public, but I don't do that because that'd be weird. And but like I said, most important thing is he's safe and happy where he is. He's away from his mother. He's alive. He's taken really good care of. I mean, granted, I'm a little agitated and sad and angry that, I'm not seeing him, and things that have been said to me by him and by other people to me about the situation that haven't been very kind. But all that really matters is he's safe. He's happy. He's safe. He has everything he needs and wants. He's healthy. He's safe. He's alive. And I mean, the people that he lives with, they take very, 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 very good care of him. And that's the whole reason why I agreed to the whole situation, because it was the only way to, protect him from his mother. I mean, it was either I agreed to that, or, his mom was just going to disappear with him and then neglect and abuse him till he eventually dies, and then he'll just be buried in some random fucking field. And I would never know. So, my choices were, do I want my son to live or die? And I chose I wanted my son to live. So I made the only choice available to keep him from getting, dead. So, I mean, and I pay, and I'm certain, and at least I'm paying the child support to them and not to her. I mean, maybe a little bit an additional insult to injury, paying, someone who was not exactly a very good person or very loyal. But hey, I have a 3-inch scar on my right arm from my last Christmas being married to my ex-wife by, and I still try to make my marriage work after that. But it was about 6 or so months, or like half a year. It's like 6 months after getting that scar, and we filed for divorce. But, I was still trying to make that marriage work. And yeah. And at least they use the money from the child support on him. They take good care of him. He's not neglected or mistreated. And I know I made the right decision because had I not, due to his mother, he would have died before he ever turned 5 years old. So, I'm just happy he's alive. And heck, the day he was born was the happiest day of my life. And even though things didn't exactly turn out the way I intended, I envisioned a very different life for him when I was holding him the day he was born. He was 8 pounds. I did everything I could to be the best father and best husband I could be. I guess the only thing I really failed as both the husband and father is I was never rich. I just never had a lot of money. Beyond that, I guess the only real failing I did as a father was, aside from not being rich, was the person that I chose for his mother was not a good person. But I thought she'd be. Heck, I married the person for 2 reasons. 1, because I loved her, and 2, because, well, I knew even then that was literally the only woman available to me on the planet. Don't get me wrong, I was still happy and, cherished her and treated her well and did everything I could to try to make her happy. And I legitimately did love her very, very much, which I guess made it hurt a little bit more when, the abuse and the adultery and the psychosis stuff was being an issue. But I can also look back and even now in hindsight be like, yeah, if I hadn't married her, I would have never had a wife or a child ever. And I had wanted a family really badly. I wanted to be a father. And I did everything I could to be a good dad. I read him stories, I changed his diapers, I fed him, I gave him baths, took him walks, took him to the doctor, I taught him to walk, I taught him to talk. Heck, his first words were I love you, Daddy. Heck, the last time I saw him in person, we spent a couple hours together. He had a blast, he had a lot of fun. And, when I was leaving, he wound up saying, he was asking the people he lives with, Can Daddy stay later? Can Dad come over again tomorrow? Can Daddy come over again next week? And they said they'd probably be a bit busy, but maybe the week after that. And my response to my son was, anytime you want me to come over. Anytime. I love you very much, and I'm very happy coming over to see and spend time with you. So anytime you want. And then of course, both the last times I've spoken to him, being January of, right now it's November 18th of 2025, 8:57 a.m. America time. And last time I spoke to him at all was a phone face chat thing back in January of this year. And he even told me in the face chat that he was only talking to me because he was being forced to. And I don't understand that. And the last time I talked to him before that was August 4th of 2024, where I talked to him for barely a minute. And it was just, as soon as I got on the phone call, he's just telling me he doesn't want to see or talk to me. And I told him, I don't understand. I love you, and I want to see and talk to you. And it just seemed like it was completely out of left field. And then, of course, in the about half a year before that, it was just, was the last time we saw each other physically in person. And in between that was just, maybe we talked once or twice on just a normal phone call. But I was just constantly being like trying to get a hold of people and they're like just tell me they're busy or tell me, oh, we went to this trip to the western part of the country, we'll be back in a bit. And it's like, and I suppose I could understand some people saying, I mean, obviously there's a bit of a concern that you entrusted your son to the people that raised the psychopathic bitch that is your ex-wife. But to be fair, I didn't have a choice. My choices were him with her or him with them. And he would have died before he ever turned 5 years old with her. My marriage consisted, especially toward the end, consisted of me waking up, taking care of my son, going to work, coming home, taking care of my son, and dealing with what seemed like a nuclear fallout from a woman who, like, every time I came home, it was just instantly me getting yelled and screamed at and told how much she hates me and all sorts of verbal abuse. Then again, I guess that's normal. I've been used to verbal abuse my entire fucking life. Heck, I got bullied a whole fucking lot in school. Heck, I think I talked about the school stuff in a video. I think I called it inconsequential, which is basically what I am. Whether it's my feelings are inconsequential, and I'm inconsequential. Heck, it's the weirdest thing ever. God and evolution conspired to create me. And don't be wrong, I appreciate my life. I'm grateful for my life. Heck, I would never ever kill myself. Ever. Granted, I probably thought about it every single day since I was 7 years old, but I've never acted on it and never done so and never would. Heck, if anyone out there ever says I died and it looked like a suicide, no. Government killed me. Either that or something else. Though logically, like, there's no reason for the government to have an issue with me because, like, oh no, it's this odd guy who's just depressed and a pacifist who watches anime and plays violent video games and is very awkward on the internet, apparently. So, considering I'm not a threat to anyone in the world, heck, I'm so polite and kind to everyone out there in the world, I'm always smiling. Though, to be fair, every day on a daily basis, I am yelling the most horrible insults and vulgar things at myself. So I'm like having arguments with myself in my own bedroom, yelling very mean things at myself. Things I would never say to another person. But, you know, it doesn't count if I'm mean to myself because I don't count as a person. But it's still kind of funny. God and evolution conspired to create me. It was about like 5.5 or so years before I was even conceived. My mother was down a fallopian tube and an ovary. Her remaining ovary and fallopian tube were on the opposite sides and not even connected to each other. But they decided to move on their own and connect to each other in order to make me exist. And don't get me wrong, I'm grateful for that. Heck, like I said, one, I may be a bit depressed, but, you know, I still appreciate my life. And I'm still happy to be alive. And the thing about God, it's like, I'm not blaming or getting angry at God for me existing. I'm grateful for that. I'm like, thank you. I appreciate you decided that I should exist. And for all the times that I'm not dead, since I've honestly had like 100+ things, if not 1,000 things, that should have killed me at this point. Heck. Let's see, like 8.5 years ago, my mom had like 3 strokes and an aneurysm. I'm glad she didn't die from that, though she made a full recovery after 4 months. 15 years ago, my eldest sister died of a brain aneurysm. And I've gotten sick and gotten hurt so many times. Heck, I've been I've had blood poisoning. I've had meningitis, encephalitis. I've been, like I said, the meningitis, encephalitis, the swelling of the brain and spine. Spent 3 days in ICU just getting pumped full of chemicals. Though I didn't find out till like a couple years later that it was actually my ex-wife's fault that I was in the ICU, trying not to die. Again, spinal taps suck. Heck, I already told you guys how I initially met my ex-wife. I initially went to go hang out with one of her cousins. I didn't even know my ex-wife existed at that point. She happened to be there, and I was like, okay, hey. And then basically ignored her. And then later that night, I get a text message, and I'm like, who is this? And I'm like, okay, so how'd you get my number? She's like, I stole your number out of my cousin's phone. I'm like, okay. Why? It's like, well, I heard you got bullied a lot in school. I'm like, what? Why are we bringing this up? He's like, I get bullied too. Well, it'll get better. It's like when you go to college. And that was basically it. But occasionally, every now and then, I got a message or a call, and I was like, oh, someone who wants to talk to me. Yay. And then, I think a year or something went by, and I got hit by a fucking truck. Granted, I've been in like 4 or 5 car accidents over the course of my life. All of them sucked. Like I said, the one was like when I was like 11 and a half or something. Now I was like 12 with the thing with my mom and her forehead. Which again, my mom definitely saved my life there, but it's just... I've been in a lot of car accidents. They sucked. But yeah, it's like about like a year or something after my ex-wife had like met me and like stole my phone number out of her cousin's phone. I got hit by a truck. It sucked. It was like one of those big ass fucking Ford 350, 450 fucking trucks with that have like fucking like 6 tires or some shit. Big ass fucking thing. It was speeding, going 75 miles per hour. I don't even know what that is in kilometers. I'm gonna go for probably like 100 plus. We're already on Google. Let's just try. Why was I originally on Google to be on? I'll remember. Let's see. Convert. 75. Okay, so I was hit by a large Ford 350, 450 truck, like one of those big ass fucking trucks, going at 120 plus kilometers per hour. It hit me straight in the driver's side. Thankfully, I was the only person in the vehicle. It completely fucking T-boned my car and then made it spin out and fly through a fucking fence. Hurt just a little bit. By all accounts, I should have gotten fucking izakai'd by that. But knowing my luck, I'd get fucking izakai'd to fucking like Berserk or something. And we're like, hey, it's Griffith. Like, fuck! Why do I see the God hand? No! It's like, fuck! It's like who animated Looter's Isekai Adventures? Was it Shonen Jump? Or was it fucking Dark Horse? I don't think anyone else is nerdy enough to get those references. But, yeah. That hurt, by the way. It kind of fucking hurt. Heck, funny thing is that, even with Vicodin, that's still fucking hurt. Because like I said, the doctor wanted to give me Vicodin after I left the emergency room. Oh, I was still in pain. It took me, I could barely, I spent the good first week of that just in my bedroom, just not wanting to do shit. I did, after a couple of days, a couple of my friends came pick me up, and they drove me over, and we played some Mortal Kombat stuff, but, I was still beating the fucking computer and shit. And everybody else is like, that's cool. Granted, I was occasionally puking and throwing up, and, I couldn't really move my left arm, so I was I'd had my left hand by my left hip, and I just sort of took the control of my right arm and put it over it, so I was playing with the controller, holding it next to my left hip. Any closer was basically a fucking belt. was basically holding the controller into my left pocket, basically. And because I couldn't really move my left arm. I had like a dozen plus staples across the left side of my skull. Heck, when the initial end of that car got like flung to wherever the fuck it went through some person's fence, and the person who lived there, they came out and they were like looking at me through my shattered window because I didn't have a window anymore. Well, I mean, technically I had a window, but it was kind of like in my eyes and all over my face and all over everything else. It's like, but anyway, it's just. By the way, it's like I did not like the doctors trying to flush water in my eyes. It was like they're like, well, you gotta let us do this, Looter. We have to flush the glass out of your eyes, and I'm like, it's just water, Looter. I'm like, it's storing my eye. Like it's like, Looter, fucking stop being a bitch. But it's just like, But anyway, the dude comes out from his place. And he's like, here. I have a diaper. Put it on your head. I'm like, what? And he's like, don't worry, it's clean. I'm like, okay. And at first I tried to use my left arm to grab it. I'm like, well, fuck. So then I grab my right hand and I just sort of like reach over my face and I'm holding it to my head because, the side of my head is kind of bleeding. I got hit by a fucking truck. Anyway. Eventually the paramedics and stuff get there, and the fire people too. They're there and they're like, "We're gonna get you out of there," and I'm like, "No, I got it. Don't worry, it's cool. I'll do it." Because I don't want to ask them to open the door. I want to do it myself. And then I try to like move the thing with my right arm, and I'm like, "Oh, my door is stuck. I can't open it." It's probably more obvious that the door wouldn't be able to physically open without machinery from the outside. I probably didn't have a great perspective from inside the vehicle. Anyway, so they then use some sort of like machine to like rip my door open because they couldn't physically open my door. And then they say they're going to help me get out of the car. And I'm like, no, I got this. And then I go to try to stand and I'm like, oh, I can't do that. Yeah, you're going to have to help me out of here. Anyway, then they move me on the gurney thing, and the whole time, like, I'm inside the paramedic thing, going to that, my left arm is just, like, jiggling like crazy. It hurts like a bitch, but it's like my arm is having a fucking seizure. And I'm like, I can't control that. It hurts, but it won't stop moving. It eventually calmed down. But yeah, though one of the paramedics, she was actually really cute. Had like big tits. I tried complimenting her. I was like, hey, how's your day going? And she's like, better than yours. I'm like, ah. And it's like, did you get the number of the truck that hit me? And it's like, yeah, they found the license plate in that person's field. I'm like, great. Were they okay? They're like, yes, they were okay. They might need a new paint job. Ha 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 ha. But they were fine. Yes, they're fine. Okay, cool. They took some x-rays and stuff when I got the place. And then they like put staples in my head. Because, to make the skin touch each other again. Because, I had a cut. Pretty big cut on the left side of my head. Also, perhaps a concussion. Since, I did get knocked unconscious. So, concussions may have existed. Heck, a police officer showed up. He wrote me a ticket for $200. Which is kind of bullshit. Made me sign for it, even though I was still bleeding out of my head and having staples put in my skull. Kind of feel like it's not very professional to have me sign for a ticket when I'm bleeding. It's like I am in the emergency room getting staples in my head. My head is still actively bleeding. My neck is cold from the blood going down my neck. You're making me sign a thing. I can't even write my fucking signature well, even with the arm that isn't having a seizure. You bastard! But yeah, all of my ribs were as bruised as they could possibly be without being broken. And my legs from my waist down to my feet was covered in like 100 bruises that were like the size of a fist, if not bigger, and looked and felt like the texture of a basketball, and they were like purple and black. And I couldn't really use my left arm very well for like a couple months. So that was uncomfortable. Though I remember going later, like that day, to like go see my car at the junkyard because I had to like sign something with insurance or something. And I'm looking at my crumpled in fucking car that looks like it was like punched by Goku, but as an Uzuro. And it's like everything is just like busted to fuck. It's like, oh yeah, there's no chance they can fucking fix that. But I'm looking at my airbag and I'm like, the fuck is this retarded shit? Like, I'm looking at my airbag and it's like, it's got some sort of design on it. It's got all this red paint all over it, like they tried to design something. I mean, heck, you see a couple splotches of white here and there, but for the most part, it's almost entirely red. You're like, what the fuck were these stupid bitches trying to... What kind of retard fucking... Like, what moron fucking designs an airbag like some sort of design on it? Like, what? I mean, heck, if you're gonna have all this red, why not throw a little blue on there? Make it an American flag! Fucking patriot! But, you know, then it, you know, eventually clicks. You know, it's a white airbag. It's an entirely white airbag, Lunar. There is no design on it. All of this red everywhere, that is your blood. That is not a design. It is not like someone was trying to make a cool little, like, oh, here's Knuckles the Echidna. He's on your airbag. He just, like, your airbag pops up and you just see, it's like, do you know the way? 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 And you just see his fist at the side, and he's like, and you just see Knuckles the Echidna's face pop into yours. And you're like, ah! No, it was an entirely white airbag. Probably also helped save my life, but just saying, you know, I found it difficult to find very much of it that was still white. So, yeah, thank you, airbag. Or Knuckles the Echidna. I don't know. Anyway. I go home. It takes me about a full minute to go from laying down to sitting up because, you know, my ribs hurt a lot and I'm kind of dizzy. So, like, if I'm laying down, it takes me like half a minute at least, like 30 seconds, if not a whole minute, just to go from laying down to just sitting up. And I'm still in pain, even though the doctor's giving me some Vicodin. And, like, it is awkward as fuck to walk to the bathroom. Like, I don't have a sense of balance worth a damn. Like, I am, like, it's a very small place where I was living. I was still living with my parents at the time, by the way. You know, I worked a full-time job, I paid my parents' rent, and I paid for any personal bills I had and anything I personally wanted, and helped around the house and stuff. But most time I was either out for a walk, or just at work, or I'd just be in my room being very quiet. Anyway. Heck, I think I remember watching some Ultra J-Man back then. Or maybe the year before that. Can't remember when he was active. But it's a good Let's Player. I liked Let's Plays even back then. But I just didn't have the technology or the ability to do that back then. But yeah. I always did enjoy those Let's Plays. Not that I'm doing very good ones myself, because I don't know if this even counts as one now. I mean, one, I'm reading a visual novel, but even then, I'm not even saying focused on the visual novel. I'm pretty sure I felt like I didn't even know or suspect this back when I was younger. Heck, it wasn't until like a few years ago it really started becoming an idea that, hey, I might have autism. I might have ADHD. Also, apparently, maybe borderline personality disorder and very, very bad depression, apparently. But hey, whatever. I mean, it is what it is, I guess. Anyway, I'm just saying, like, my bedroom was maybe like 8 feet. Like my door, heck, I'm pretty sure, like, if I were to, like, lay in my hallway where I was and have my feet against the posts of my door frame, I could probably reach and grab the door frame of the bathroom. That being said, it was so fucking awkward walking to go to the bathroom because I didn't have shit worth of balance, so I'd be, like, leaning into the wall as I went to go because I have to go take a piss or take a shit or something. Actually, I don't think I really had to poop the first couple days. Maybe that's a Vicodin thing? I don't know. Really haven't had much in the, that stuff. Heck, I think the last time I had really much of any kind of painkiller in my system was when I had my fucking bladder surgery, which, by the way, hurt. And eventually, like, and I remember going, like, the first night back from that, going to the hospital, emergency room, telling them, like, hey, I'm in pain. And they thought I was some sort of, like, fucking drug addict. Like, no. Like I have a tube up my dick. Okay? And I measured that shit after I fucking, like, it was just... And it's extra thick, too, because, fucking surgery. So, fuck you, structure of the bladder. It's like, hey, you need to get a surgery. Your bladder will explode and you'll die. Fuck you, genetics. It was a very shitty fucking 49 to 50 hours of having something the size of a number 2 pencil up my dick, 14 inches up my pee hole. That hurt. And it was like, they wouldn't give me any more pain medication. And I'm like, I am in pain. And it's like... Either way, it was good my mom was over here to help. And again, I enjoyed spending time with her. I love my mom very much. I guess the main issue of my mom might just be the fact that, why did you wind up marrying the fucking drunk guy as my stepfather, who then became a deacon, who I'm glad he quit drinking, but at the same time, he would get up at like 3 a.m. and type out the Bible on a typewriter. Not a computer, an actual fucking typewriter. And again, it's believing God's good. But not when you're fucking, bitching at me for everything over it. Either 99% of the time you ignore me and pretend I don't exist, or the other 1% of the time, Dad, it's just fucking insults and using, like, God doesn't approve of this, God doesn't approve of that, God doesn't do that. Heck, I remember a time having a girl come over just because she wanted to make sure I wasn't like a fucking serial killer. And she was there for 2 minutes just to meet my mom. And my dad was just pissed about it. He's like, what would God think? What would the neighbors think? What would the people at church think? And I'm like, I don't care, but... And also, it's like, I pay half the rent. I don't cause you any problems. Why are you bitching at me? Of course, didn't say that, like that, because obviously, pretty sure he would have just punched me in the face at that point. But it's also the fact that you're a deacon. And especially from that point, you can't blame because you went sober and stuff. You can't blame that for having a fucking temper. Or just generally being... And it's just... Don't get me wrong, he's done a few good things here and there. Like, he drove me to the bladder surgery and then he came picked me and Mom back up. Like 5 years ago, my alternator had a problem in my car. I bought an alternator and he put the new alternator in there. I mean, and like I said, Mom was mentioning like a month and a half or something ago, like when he dies, that she's got to come live with me. And I'm like, on the one hand, I'd rather my mom not live with me. I'd rather she have her own place. But in the same regard, I would not let my mom be homeless. doesn't have a way to have her own place or something like that, I will have her live with me. I will move her into my son's bedroom. Though the glow in the dark stars in his room, those stay on the wall. They're staying on the wall forever. I refuse to take those down. Then again, I still have his car seat from back when he was a year old. When he was even younger than that. It's still in my car. Heck, if he ever actually were to spend the night here again, he's way too big for his toddler bed anymore. His room still looks like it was back when he lived with me. Back before the divorce. I don't miss my ex-wife at all, but I miss my son a lot. But yeah, I just, I got hit by that truck, and it was really awkward to go to the bathroom and stuff. But then I got a phone call. It was from her, and she said she heard what happened, and she was glad I didn't die, and then she told me that she loves me, and that she wanted to marry me and have kids with me and all that stuff. And it was like, well, I told you guys how the rest of that conversation went. But yeah, like a year or something later, we wound up getting together, and then like half a year after that, wound up like proposing and stuff. Which she actually tackled me to the ground when I proposed, screaming yes, yes over and over. So I don't know. I'll say this, there were some happy memories with that, but of course that's kind of true of all relationships. Even if in a relationship, especially even when it gets to the point of being abusive, it's not just non-stop. But then again, eventually got to the point that I was just kind of used to the idea that every day I came home from work, I'm going to open the door and just get yelled at. And all that stuff. So yay, I guess. So, yeah. Heck, it's like, if I had to describe, it's like, what do you want in a relationship, Lunar? I would say two things. One, companionship with someone I trust who actually cares about me and is kind to me. Two, lots and lots of sex with someone I find attractive who thinks I'm attractive too. The end. That's basically it. I was gonna search something though. Alright, video. Right, how do I even ask Google the question about the domestic violence thing? If a rich woman beats her woman servant who lives with her, is that domestic violence? Domestic violence can be physical, sexual, emotional, economic, psychological actions or threats of actions that influence another person. It includes any behaviors that intimidate, manipulate, humiliate, isolate, frighten, terrorize, coerce, threaten, blame, hurt, injure, or wound someone. That doesn't answer my question. What do you mean there's... No? What? Okay, this doesn't... Okay, why are all the things about domestic violence? It's like womensaid.org.uk. Myths about domestic abuse, Women's Aid. Myth 1, if it was that bad, she'd leave. Myth 2, domestic abuse always involves physical violence. Myth 3, alcohol and drugs make one much more violent. It's like Myth 4, something I have to click on the link in order to see. Well, I have a 3-inch scar on my right arm. I remember last Christmas being married, my ex-wife by. It was Christmas. Our 2.5-year-old son is playing with his presents. He's happy. She's annoyed at the noise he's making. She starts yelling, screaming, cussing, breaking toys in her hands, slamming them against the wall, kicking things. Obviously, my son is a little bothered by this, starts crying a bit. This annoys her more. He then starts walking toward her a bit. This annoys her more. I then step in between them and ask her to please stop. She then lunges at me. She stops when she sees the blood coming out of my arm. She then goes up to our room. I then cover up my arm and then I console my terrified-looking child. And just let him know everything's okay. Again, still trying to make that marriage work. Mainly over, one, I didn't want to lose my family, I didn't want to lose my son, and also, well, if I had enough concerns about his safety in regards to a relationship where I'm there, I mean, if we go through a divorce and then all of a sudden he's alone with her in other places, even in a shared custody situation, well, I was concerned about how that would go. And then, of course, even by then, I was still being naive because, well, as time went on, not only did things get worse, but also once divorce actually happened, it was just, I mean, I've already talked about it in multiple videos, but it's just, it became very clear that he wasn't going to survive being around her for any amount of time like that. And of course, like I said, 1 week after we were officially divorced, her parents already had a lawyer and documents for us to sign for him to be with them. And she was threatening to run away with him, all that stuff, and would be threatening him. Like, yeah, he'd be like, oh, you just had to help get more custody of him. Like, yeah. But the problem with that is, one, it wouldn't work. And two, even if it requires me to use him getting hurt by her as a bargaining chip. And I didn't want to risk any harm to him at all, more than was completely unavoidable. And heck, even early on, it's like, even if you're trying to get the police to help with stuff, let's be clear, they would never have taken my side on anything. At which point it would simply have removed me from the equation as a means of protecting him. At which point, the only thing it would accomplish is get him hurt. So, looking back, like I said, I managed collateral damage. I did what I could to keep the peace and make everything okay. And I can say I look back at everything and know if I had done anything differently, he'd be dead. He would have died. So, I miss him. But I'm happy he's doing well. And where he is right now, they take very, very, very good care of him. Heck, they love him as if he were their own son. And they take very good care of him. And that's all that matters. Just I know one of the recent presents I got my son is it's a really large Eevee plushie. It's really big. And it's so floofy and soft. Heck, if the place I got it from had more than one, I would have got one for me too. It's so soft and it's oh, that's awesome. I got my mom Like one thing is like it's a game called Upwards. It's like it's kind of like Scrabble in a way, but better. She likes to play games like that, so I did consider the idea of getting her like maybe a handheld version of retro consoles to plug the old NES cartridges into. But I mean, she has her old NES still. It still works. She has a PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, and those games. I even already bought her for her most recent birthday some more memory cards, that stuff. It's just Dad's not letting her actually play the video games because he's worried it'll damage his TVs. It's just... And heck, at one point I even worked with him at a job. And it's just certain things have been said that were just in both in the working environment and in not, that just were unacceptable. Heck, certain things he even said in regard to the job, like when I was doing it, was like a normal person working that job, if just the random employer you had, that neither you guys know each other, said that stuff to you, you'd punch them in the face for that. But even so, I don't wish any harm on him or anything. I wish him best, and again, as he's at least taking care of Mom, at least financially and stuff, and it's just... But it just, in general, I do tend to feel a bit angry about certain things. And in general, I don't trust him. Heck, the weirdest thing is this. I'm bisexual, and I am pro-Trump. He thinks gay people are terrible, awful, evil, should all, burn in hell and stuff and die. And he also thinks Trump is the literal Antichrist. Not even paraphrasing, not even just being, a euphemism. No, he has said literally verbatim the literal words that Trump is the literal Antichrist from the Bible. And heck, there was a time there was an issue with the house that he was living in, that him and Mom were living in, that's an issue, to where, and it was coming up in conversation due to stuff I have no control over. And, it's something that I have a right to be pissed off at him for. And something that he should be ashamed of. And I'm generally just trying to avoid this topic of the conversation at all, because I just don't even want to talk about it. And then it winds up getting and even then I'm still talking in an apologetic, polite way about it. I have every right to basically cuss him out for the shit. And then he blows his stack, gets angry at me, like, oh, why are you always bringing that up? Always talking about that. Always and it's like, dude, you're 70 years old. You're a deacon. You don't drink anymore. What reason do you have to have such a fucking temper against the person who, let's be clear, for all intents and purposes, I have always tried to treat him with the highest amount of respect possible. I have always talked to him with nothing but respect, and I've always talked, with the exception of YouTube videos, I have always talked about him of high respect. I've talked well of him, and I've complimented him, oh, he's a hard worker, he's this, he's devout, obviously, maybe. Obviously, while it's good to believe in God and stuff, the fact the way he is about stuff kind of makes me feel like a lot of zealots from, the Mozgus and stuff from Berserk might be looking at him like there's some fucking issues with him. Okay? That being said, I don't hate him. And I try and would like to get along with him. Even though he's not actually my biological father, I still consider him my dad. I still consider him, and always have considered him, much more my dad than I do my biological father. Granted, that was not a very high bar to have, but still. And again, I don't hate my biological father. I just didn't. He had his issues, and I didn't want to deal with that horrible stuff. But it's not like I'd wish any harm on him. Then again, he, died on his own. And I didn't feel bad at all. And I'll say this, I don't think I'd be sad when my stepdad dies. And again, I consider him my dad. And I respect him more than I did my biological father. Now, when my mom dies, I'll be emotionally devastated and I'll be extremely sad and heartbroken. But still, I would say that my stepdad, I still want to get along with him. I still want to be respectful of him. Heck, whenever he does die, I hope he goes to heaven. I understand he mainly became a deacon because he's scared of going to hell. And heck, that was basically his main reason to eventually, get back together with my mom. Because again, he felt the church would probably never let him be in the church, let alone be a deacon. Looking at stuff, I'm pretty clear, neither of my parents love each other at all. But, like I said, and it's just the weirdest thing. It's like, when they did wind up getting back together, it's like, because initially my mom got with my biological father, and then they split, and then she got with my stepdad, who was technically married to my mom's older sister at that time, and both my mom and her sister were both single mothers before ever even meeting my stepfather, who was at that point on his third wife, and then they decide to do that stuff, and then of course other stuff happens, then eventually they get together, and at one point things were bad enough that where my mom basically took a gun and tried to blow his brains out. They both thought the gun was loaded. She basically just points the gun right at his face and tells him she's going to shoot him, and he's basically just yells and cusses at her and tells her that she don't got the balls to do it. Doesn't feel bad or sad or scared or anything, he's just talking shit to her about it. You don't got the balls to fucking pull that trigger. I mean, she did, but, did not have a bullet in there, but they both thought it did. Though, from that day forward, he has been vehemently against ever allowing guns in any way, shape, or form in any house he lives in ever. That being said, I have no idea what the aftermath after that would have been like. That would have been a very awkward circumstance, right? And apparently they stayed married for a while after that, and then they got divorced for other reasons, and then my mom got back together with my biological father, which, at that point my mom's infertile, and again, both God and evolution conspired to create me, because, her remaining ovary and fallopian tube moved on their own to reconnect and make me, and then after I was born, my mom had her last remaining fallopian tube removed. And then, after a few years or something, well, her and my biological dad split. Then my mom was on her own for a little bit, and then she wound up getting back together with my stepdad. And they're both alcoholics. Honestly, everyone in this story is an alcoholic. My mom, my dad, my mom's sister, every other person involved, my biological dad, he died drunk. Heck, I only have half a dozen memories of him. He's drunk in all of them. But then mom and dad, my stepdad, again I consider him my dad, they get together. And like I said, lots and lots of drunk arguing and stuff. And, more, but still, you guys get the point. But hey, my go-to response was, I'm just going to hide inside my toy chest, because I'm stupid. Though as much as I might say I'm stupid, I remember being 13, having a 132 IQ. Heck, I graduated with an honors diploma from my high school. 4.0 straight A's, calculus, physics, chemistry. Eagle Scout. Heck, I worked since I was like 14, 15 or something. I don't know. Paid for most of my school stuff and the scout stuff, anything I wanted back then. Heck, a majority of the anime I own that I got from back then, I paid for myself. Heck. Though I'll say this. I have a lot of happy memories of them. I remember going to a store called Lazarus. It's like Walmart before Walmart existed. And getting Sonic the Hedgehog 3 for the Sega Genesis. Heck, I remember my mom cooked a lot of homemade food, and I'd sit in the kitchen and just talk to her. Or we'd sit and play like Spyro 1 on the original PS1, or play some Mario 1 and Mario 3 on the NES. And honestly, neither of us was really very good at those video games. It was such a struggle to ever beat Mario 3, or to get very far in Mario 1. But that didn't matter, I just enjoyed spending time with my mom. And of course my mom's been there for me in a lot of things, and I appreciate her very much. But it's just the fact that there was a time I was like, 10 years old? My mom tried to run away from my stepdad, but they weren't even married the second time at that point. They had been living together for like a couple of years or something. I don't know. I was 10. And then she decides we're gonna basically leave. We basically have just enough money for gas, and that's it. And she leaves with me, and she has, I have 2 siblings, 2 older sisters. But basically, she's just like, they'll come back later, but we're gonna go down to like Florida. We make it about halfway through Kentucky or so, and then go back after she talks on a payphone to somebody. Not exactly sure who or what that conversation was, but I have some ideas, but I really have no way of knowing. Then about a year after that, they get married. Then about a year after that, they both quit drinking, becomes like sober, and he becomes like a deacon. And like goes to church like every day. Which again, good for him. That's good. I believe in God too. But I have very many disagreements about scripture and beliefs about God. But, heck. 2 years ago, the Christmas before last, technically the Christmas of 2023? Let me try to remember. 2023? Pretty sure. He typed out and he printed out multiple copies of it, but he handed everyone in the family a 6-page typed packet talking about how Christmas and Easter are of the devil and are pagan holidays. And it's just like... I also tried to have a little conversation about him defending gay people. Obviously, he doesn't know any of that. I told my mom this past Easter, as far as being bi, and that if I ever do date, I'm probably just going to be gay. But, kind of antisocial and to myself still, so heck, I've been completely alone since my divorce. I think most of my life has been me being alone. Heck, I didn't even get my first kiss until I was past American drinking age. But main point being is this. It's good that he goes to church. I believe in God too. And I think it's important to take that seriously too. But I kind of feel like he's an asshole. And I kind of feel like he's just... a bit rude and angry about certain things, and a bit of a hypocrite, and I kind of feel like I don't trust him, and that and heck, I remember at one point a few years back I was telling my mom, like, no one has a marriage that works out anymore, and she's like, oh, but me and your dad have been married for all these years, because at this point they've been married for what, 20 plus years the second time, not counting their first marriage, I think. Yeah, it's like been 25 plus years at least. I mean, if they did it like what? It was like 27, 28 years? So yeah, not counting their first marriage, they've been married like 27, 28 years. But that's not a good example. You guys went through multiple divorces, even including each other and other people. And you guys are the most miserable people I've ever met in my life. You guys clearly don't love each other. You seem to hate each other. And it's just, each of you like seem horrible toward each other, and you just seem like the generally most unhappy people ever, that are just sort of like with each other because you're both fucking old. Though obviously I don't say that because I'd be very rude. My response is, oh, but you guys have been married well back before like social media and the internet. Society's changed. Like, there's nobody that's still married that's not, extremely old. Modern marriages don't really last, and society's changed a lot. I mean, technically that's true, but, I kind of feel it would be rude to say, but you guys fucking hate each other, and you're a horrible couple. To be fair, though, I still want their marriage to work out. Then again, maybe it's just because I don't like change. I don't know. Could be an autism thing. I don't know. But main point is this. I still want to get along with my dad. Again, air quotes, he's my stepfather. But I still want to get along with him. I still want him to respect me. I still would like him to actually care, and actually, I want to get along with him. I don't know if that sounds weird, but that's just how I feel. I want to get along with him. I want him to get along and just accept and be cool with me. Like, it's not like if I decide to be openly gay and stuff, it's not like, because I'm bisexual, but like, again, he doesn't like that, but again, it's not like he approves of me dating women either, because he wants to be overly judgmental, like, oh, you're not married to that person, you should be having sex with that woman. It's like, so I mean, obviously, it's like, why would I care about whether he approves on the guy thing if he doesn't even approve of any relationship? He's just kind of overly judgmental on everything to where everything is wrong. And doesn't seem to have any sort of, like, I don't know. Heck. Both him and Mom were upset that Trump didn't get shot. It just, I don't know, it's really odd. It's like, because here's the thing I had to think about is this. Like, I at least don't know if they even know if Charlie Kirk exists, but what would have been their reaction on that? I don't know. And I don't think I want to know. But the thing about the Trump thing, I know about that. To where they're upset, and it's just like, you want someone to die just for having different beliefs, for different views. it's not even that, like, oh, he's an actual fascist or some shit. He's just a guy who's actually, pro-America, pro-free speech, and all that stuff. And, like, but, even if you disagreed with his political... Like, here's the thing. I don't like Kamala Harris or Biden, but I wouldn't want them to get shot. Heck, this Zoran Mamdani guy with fucking New York City as the mayor. Like, granted, I don't live in New York, but I can say this. One, I think the guy is not a very good person, but I wouldn't want somebody to shoot him. I don't think it's acceptable when he's shooting political opponents or people you don't agree with. Hell, if there's someone who has a viewpoint, whether it be religious or political, that you don't agree with, you should be able to have a civil discussion with them. You don't fucking shoot them. Let alone have people on the internet fucking cheering and gloating happily about a man being murdered in front of his own wife and child. Recorded in front of people on a college campus. It's like, excuse me, like, I'm pretty sure, like, violence in school grounds is bad. Why are you guys celebrating this? And they're like, well, he was a horrible person. Like, no, he wasn't. He was just a guy trying to have conversations with people, trying to have open discussions. That's the whole thing our country was founded on. And it's just, it doesn't seem very American or very Christian to want to kill your political opponents or to celebrate those things. And the biggest thing that bothers me about that, above all else, is this. The only reason you don't want me to be that person getting shot in public is because I'm family. Or, heck, if it's somebody you know that's like that and they're like a friend or something, but they're like supporting, oh, Trump should have got shot. If you didn't know me and I was just some random person and someone killed me, would you be gloating over my death? Is the only thing stopping you from wanting me to die is just that I share blood with you, or that we grew up as friends? Not that that last part matters, because I haven't been able to speak to any of my friends in years. Granted, I understand they all have families and they have all their own stuff. But I also feel kind of like, why do none of my friends ever send me a text message or anything? Do they even remember I exist? So it's just, like I said, there's questionable things, but like when it comes to my stepdad, like I said, I consider him my dad. I consider him my father. And I mean, with the exception of YouTube videos or stuff on like YouTube or the internet, I don't say anything disrespectful about him at all. I talk to him with respect and I talk about him with respect. Heck, even if it's the people that would never even, like if I see people in real life and the conversation comes about that stuff, I won't say anything that would be even remotely, bad about him in any way. But it's just, but I guess that's the thing about like I said, the ovary thing with my mom is like, physically she shouldn't have been able to have children. I don't even know what the statistical possibilities of a person's, like a woman having an ovary and fallopian tube that are an opposite size, not connected, just sort of drifting on their own, connecting to each other. I'm not sure how often, or how common. Like if you were to take every woman on the planet and remove one of their ovaries and one of their fallopian tubes, what would the statistical probability that those things would come together and recombine? Obviously, that'd be a really fucked up experiment too. Heck, would it even matter which ovary or which fallopian tube it was? Like, does it matter if it's the left one, right one? Like, what's happening here? I don't understand, like, what's the statistical probabilities of these things, or how you would even figure these out. Like, I'm pretty sure if I went onto Twitter or something and asked fucking Grok, like, I would just crash Twitter. Like, everyone would no longer be able to use Twitter anymore, because fucking Grok would have a stroke trying to figure out what the fuck I'm asking it. Heck, I might try to ask Grok that question. At which point, Twitter will go down and no one can ever use the internet again. Internet will, the dead internet theory will become a reality. It'd be my fault. That being said, there are a lot of bots and robots on the internet. Heck, that's the thing I was thinking about earlier, was this. I think about awesome, just awesomely, just autistic things. Hey, can a ghost be autistic? If someone is autistic and they die and they become a ghost, is the ghost autistic still? What if you're not autistic and you die? Can you then become autistic? I'm just saying this. If an autistic person dies, is the ghost autistic? Can the ghost be autistic? Here's our thing. How many horror movies, creepypastas, horror stories, or even folklore tales of the past, even religious stories, involve ghosts or demons possessing dolls? Well, robots are like a doll, right? Can ghosts and demons possess robots? Heck, ghosts and demons can possess humans, correct? So even if a robot has sentient AI, can ghosts and demons possess sentient androids? Are we gonna have exorcisms for AIs? Heck, even an AI, even if it has no physical body, it's just fucking computer chips. If it gets to the point of being sentient, or even just a mimicked AI, is it possible for ghosts or for demons to possess artificial intelligence? Is that a thing that can happen? Again, how do you test this? What am I gonna go? Am I gonna go to the fucking Pope? I'm not Catholic, by the way, but I think the cathedrals, I would like to see Notre Dame. It looks awesome and beautiful. I see all these cathedrals in the past, and they look so beautiful. I went to Washington, D.C., 8 months or something before 9/11. Also, to be clear, I had nothing to do with 9/11. I was 13 or 12. I was either 13 and a half, maybe? I don't know. Just saying. I had not gone to Washington, D.C. except for a school trip. Spent a week there. Went by bus. Stayed in hotels. I thought it was nice. Again, I know I'm a fucking nerd, but I liked the museums. History museums, the Holocaust Museum, the Space Aeronautics Museum, art museums, science museums. Heck, I know I am... I think it would be cool to see an anime museum. Heck, I've never been to an anime convention. Though, apparently those things smell. Which I don't understand that. Obviously, there are sometimes in real life I'll smell a bit here or there. But that's usually because, I'm at work. Or I'm walking in, 90-degree weather on a bike trail. You're going to sweat. You're going to smell bad. But in general, I like to smell good. I take 15 showers a week. And I take at least 2 baths a month. So that means in the course of 1 month, if I'm taking a minimum of 15, that's 4 weeks, that's 60 showers. But of course, that's minimum. I take a few more here and there. So I'd say in a given month, I am probably taking, at minimum, 70 showers and 2 baths. And at most, maybe 3 or 4 baths and 100 showers? I'm like fucking Vegeta standing in the rain on a cliff. Or fucking Kermit the Frog sitting in a bathtub. It's the same fucking picture. Heck, I still say Aizen from Bleach and fucking Ted Bear from Cyanide and Happiness are the same person. Heck, Mayuri Kurochiki, when he gave his speech on perfection in the Bleach anime, that's the same fucking speech that Goku gave Jiren in the Tournament of Power. Heck, for the most part, when it comes to their idea of perfection, Goku and Mayuri Kurochiki have the same personality. They're the same person. Because after all, Mayuri doesn't like the idea of perfection because it means there's no room for improve. Goku also hates the idea. He always wants to keep training and improving. He thinks once you get perfect, there's nowhere to go. You just stop. Both Mayuri Kurochiki and Goku are the same person. I'm just saying, I like to smell good. I have cologne. If I ever went... I like to smell good. I don't like smelling bad. Now, obviously, if I'm at work or something, you know, especially a lot of the jobs I've done in the past, you know, you can't really help it because you're sweating a lot and you're also working with chemicals and things that all smell bad. So, yeah. But I mean, there's a difference between, hey, you're at a place where you're doing a job where you're sweating your ass off, as opposed to you're doing something sociable and trying to talk to people. I don't know. I guess the main thing is this. It's kind of odd. Like, physically, it shouldn't have been possible for me to be born. But I appreciate it. Like, I'm thankful to God that I exist. It's just, you know, it's not that I'm blaming God for anything. It's not that I'm saying I don't want, like, I would have preferred God not do what he did. Like, I'm happy. I'm very, very grateful that God chose to create me and make, you know, both God and evolution conspire together to make me exist. I appreciate that. I'm very grateful for that. But I also look at myself and I'm like, I'm worthless. I have no value to this society, and there is nothing unique or special about me, and I'm a failure about everything. Heck, I'm just some random guy who works in a factory. I'm poor, I'm ugly, I'm fat, I'm 180 centimeters tall, I am 91 kilograms, I have never had an abs or a six-pack ever. I have never been athletic. I'm not rich. Heck, for all my high IQ and good grades, I didn't do anything with it. It's like there's nothing special about me. It's like, what purpose is there in me existing? Heck, if I fucking die, no one's going to fucking care. So it's like, so what was the point in making me? Like, but again, not saying I'm upset about it. I mean, I'm grateful. Heck, for everything that my life is, I'm still grateful to be alive. And I still enjoy my video games and my anime and going for walks on bike trails and having weird apparent discussions with my computer when I should be reading a video game. I feel like this video is kind of a lost cause. And again, I've said this so many times, and I'm failing you guys so fucking hard. But I keep saying, I'm not going to go on tangents or talk about personal shit. And this video got so fucking derailed so fucking fast. I guess the main point we're leaving this with is, one, this is a great story. It is not the story's fault that I'm not paying attention to it. It is my fault. Also, I love my mom very, very much. And I love my son very, very much. I also love Christmas. I'm also bisexual and I love cock. I also think Ivy from Soul Calibur 2 looks like Kyrie from this game, who you have not seen in this game so far because we have stayed on this image here, which I've just pulled back up, and I should probably just save the game so we don't lose our progress, right? We made so much progress. But yeah. I apologize to anyone who's had the misfortune of listening to this video. I will try to be more professional in future videos. After all, I think I've said it before several times. I promise nothing, I guarantee even less. And the only thing consistent about this channel is a complete total lack of professionalism. So But yeah, I'll try not to talk about things anymore or get distracted. Well, from everyone's least favorite tsundere YouTuber, thanks for hanging out. And I hope all of you have all the hugs and head pats you could ever want or need. Alright, I need to save the video. So... Later. Bye.